If you were born between 1810 and 1820, your life would start in a slow, mostly rural world, and end in one laced with railways, factories, telegraphs, and mass politics. You'd grow up under old hierarchies and grow old in an age obsessed with progress. Your parents wouldn't think of you as a 19th century person. You'd just be another baby in a familiar order. Rulers and landlords above, clergy and elders enforcing custom, most people working hard simply to survive. No cars, planes, telephones, or cameras. Nights belong to darkness, broken by candles and oil lamps, maybe gaslight in a few big streets. Messages move at the speed of feet, hooves, and sails. Your parents imagine your life will mirror theirs. Early work, maybe a little school, marriage if you live long enough. Children, constant worry over food, money, and illness. They don't yet know your generation will be pushed closer to factories, big cities, and global markets. As a child, your world is tight and local. If you grow up in the countryside, you know fields, animals, and rough tracks. You learn early that weather decides whether there's enough to eat. You help with chores as soon as you can, carrying water, gathering wood, minding animals, watching younger siblings. In a town, you see narrow streets, markets, small shops and workshops. You hear carts rumbling, bells marking time, and the steady clink and scrape of people working with hand tools. School, if it exists for you, is short and strict. Many children never attend, or go only in winter. You memorize letters, prayers, and numbers. Mistakes may be met with the cane. Books are few. Education is a luxury, not a right. Illness is never far away. Dirty water, cramped housing, and limited medical knowledge mean fevers and epidemics sweep through often. You might lose siblings, parents, or friends young. Death and mourning are woven into everyday life. Still, childhood has small joys, games in fields or alleys, stories told by elders, songs at gatherings, festivals that brighten the year. In your teens, sometime in the 1820s or early 1830s, the wider world starts to press closer. You hear about uprisings and independence movements as colonies push against empires, and citizens demand constitutions, soldiers returning with stories of battles and distant lands, new rulers, borders, and laws that change taxes, conscription, or land rights. You don't need to understand the theory to feel the effects. Sudden shortages, new demands. From authorities or the fear that comes with crackdowns. At the same time, early industrialization spreads. In some regions you see bigger mills and factories, powered by water wheels or steam engines. More people leaving villages for wage work under whistles and clocks. Smoke and noise rising from new industrial districts. Rail projects and improved roads begin. You might watch gangs of laborers laying track or hear about them. The idea that you could someday travel farther and faster than your parents did starts to seem less like fantasy. As an adolescent born in this decade, you sense that the ground under society is shifting. Even if your own choices still feel narrow, in your 20s through the 1830s and 1840s, you shoulder adult responsibilities in a world where industry is no longer just a rumor. Your daily reality might be hard agricultural work, but now affected by prices and competition. Far beyond your village, long shifts in mills, mines, or factories, breathing dust and smoke. Paid by the day or the piece, service in other people's homes or low-level clerical work. If you're literate and lucky, years in uniform or at sea, enforcing borders, suppressing revolts, or protecting trade. Job security is minimal. An economic downturn, a bad harvest, or an injury can throw you into crisis. Many in your generation see migration as the only way forward. From countryside to town, then from small towns to big cities, from crowded industrial regions to new frontier lands or colonies, across oceans on steamships that now run more regularly. In the cities, you encounter overcrowded housing, shared rooms and beds, and poor sanitation. But you also find wages, bustling streets, cheap entertainments, and people from many backgrounds. You're part of the growing class of urban workers. That make the new economy run. By your 40s and 50s, roughly the 1850s through the 1870s. The difference between your childhood world and your current one is undeniable. Railways have spread widely. Trains stitch towns into national networks. Travel that took days in your youth now takes hours. Markets across regions are tied together. Distant harvests and factories affect local prices. Cities have swollen. Factories cluster along rivers, canals and rails. Slums expand around them. Pollution and disease are constant threats, pushing authorities to consider clean water, sewage systems, and basic public health. Political movements gain strength. Workers organize unions and parties, pushing for shorter hours, safer work, and better pay. Movements to abolish slavery or serfdom, or to deal with their legacies, reshape societies. Campaigns for wider voting rights grow. In some countries, more men gain the vote, and early women's rights activists begin to agitate. Nationalist and independence movements organize more openly, challenging empires and multi-ethnic states. As someone born between 1810 and 1820, you've seen authority questioned in ways unthinkable in your childhood. You might join these movements, oppose them, or simply try to survive their consequences. In your 60s and 70s, through the 1870s, 1880s, and into the 1890s, you're an elder in a world that feels newly connected and visible. You see, telegraph wires running along rail lines and roads, carrying messages in minutes, newspapers packed with international news, wars, elections, scandals, market crashes, and inventions from far away. Photography used to capture portraits, city scenes, slums, and battlefields. You might sit stiffly in a photographer's studio, trying not to move while your image is fixed on a plate. That single photograph could become the only visual record that you ever existed. Steamships now cross oceans on regular schedules. Migration is part of many family stories. You likely have relatives abroad, or you may be one of the people who left. Letters arrive with tales of new lands, new hardships, and new opportunities. You've watched how faster communication and transport can spread ideas and information, and how they also help empires, companies, and states extend their reach. If you live into your 80s or 90s, you reach the 1890s and maybe even 1900. Around you, electric lights flicker on in some streets, factories, and homes, changing nightlife and work patterns. Telephones begin to connect offices and wealthier houses, carrying voices instantly across town. Factories are larger and more mechanized. Ships and bridges are bigger and stronger. Scientific and medical advances, especially around germs and sanitation, slowly improve life expectancy for some. You may hear about early automobiles and flying experiments. To your grandchildren, these feel like the future. To you, they are startling possibilities, layered on top of already staggering changes. Young people talk about modern times with excitement. You remember a childhood without trains, telegraphs, or big industrial cities. From your perspective, the world has not just changed, it has changed repeatedly. If you were born in this decade, history almost certainly won't record your name. Your life will be traced in church books, official registers, maybe a family story or a faded photograph. Yet the arc of your years runs through. The spread of early industry and urban migration, the rise of railways, steamships, and telegraphs, the growth of big cities and mass politics, the shift from unquestioned hierarchies to loud arguments over rights, representation, and nationhood. You'd share a birth decade with generals and deserters, industrialists and factory hands, reformers and those who resisted them. You'd share even more with millions of people whose quiet labor and endurance kept societies functioning while the 19th century reinvented itself. Being born between 1810 and 1820 means starting life in an older, slower world, and growing old in one racing toward the 20th century. Your story, even if remembered only. In a handful of names and a single image, would be one more real thread woven into that vast, changing fabric.